All right, carrying on with technology and cognition and the negative effects, the final lesson in this topic, cell phones and inattentional blindness. So if we look over in the textbook over here, in the last lesson we looked at TV and working memory, and then now we're going to look at why definitely anyone should not text and drive. So we'll look at how cell phones might influence our attention. And this is up to about page 326 of the textbook. All right, so let's have a look at the PowerPoint here. All right, so simply looking at the effects of technology, so cell phone, and how that can influence our inattentional blindness, how that can cause that. So again, just recapping what we did in the previous lessons. All right, so a Kahoot to recap, pretty straightforward. A little bit of chalk and talk about selective attention and what that means, and the idea that our brains would overload and fry if we paid attention to everything around us. So we consciously, unconsciously select what we pay attention to, and that is selective attention. And here is a more technical definition, if you like it. This is just a survey from Psychology Today. Kids can take it, they can fill it out, and they can see about their attention. It might be interesting to do. All right, now this is the replication of the gorilla experiment. Now, there's absolutely no talking, because if some students have done it before, or if they've seen the video, or even if they figure it out halfway through, I mean, 2/3 of the students will probably notice a gorilla, maybe more, but sorry, maybe a third will notice a gorilla. But so just no talking. So anyway, they watch the video, and all the instructions are on the video. If you haven't done it already for yourself, check it out. It's pretty interesting. I might have just given it away. All right, then like how many people saw the gorilla? And there's different conditions in the original, but it was as little as 8% noticed a gorilla when they were trying to count. And then here, the thing here is why? Why do we see something? Why do we fail to see something so obvious? And then hopefully they can link this to their working memory capacity, right? And the one possible explanation for this is that our working memory is limited. We can only, and so when we overload one aspect, so in this case our vision, we're overloading our vision with the trying to count the basketballs, that there's no space to then perceive anything else. And again, that's because of our limited capacity for working memory. All right, again, now there's a video here. This is a great video at 4 minutes about texting and driving. Worthwhile watching for yourself before you see the class. It's people just talk about, do you text and drive, and then they have someone come in who was in a car crash. I think their parents passed away because someone was the person who hit them was texting and driving. Pretty powerful stuff. All right. Now, it took me a long time to find a good online game to look at driven to distraction, because most of them you have to pay, you have to log in, you have to make an account. Try this one out first, maybe before class, to make sure it works, because they change all the time. There's one from the New York Times, I think, but then I couldn't find the link, or I couldn't get the link to work. There's that one as well. Anyway, it's a pretty basic game. All right, so then getting them to after they have a little bit of play of that game, what do these two things have in common? Why are we looking at the gorilla study and then texting and driving? And then we get into a chalk and talk of what is inattentional bias, right? The fact that we fail to see, we have an inattention to some things because we're so focused on other things, right? And then that's how it works in the gorilla study. And chalk and talk about the study we can use to show this, and what they found was when listening to the radio or a book on tape, people wouldn't make they didn't make many mistakes, because these things aren't cognitively taxing. They're not overloading our working memory. We don't have to respond to them. We don't have to comprehend them. They're just we're kind of passively engaging. But if we have to have a conversation and we have to actually think and process and engage and respond, then we're more likely to make mistakes when we drive. And the idea behind that is, and also a follow-up study, they also showed that decreases their reaction time. Okay, why? I mean, working memory. Okay, possibly because the fact that you're having to contemplate, you're having to hold in your working memory what someone's saying on the phone, and then you have to think about how you're going to respond. Then that is so cognitively taxing, overloading your working memory, that you may not be able to see what's in front of you. Now, interestingly, this isn't a dual task paradigm, because you would think, and I've just thought of this now, but this is an audio. This is a phonological loop aspect of the working memory, right? This is auditory, and yet what we're trying to do here is see things with our visual capacity. So you would think actually that we should be able to do both, but interestingly enough, we can't. And what we're looking at here really is, for students, some people think texting and driving is dumb because you take your eyes off the road. What this study is suggesting is that even if your eyes are on the road, because you're having to comprehend and engage with what someone's saying, even if it's hands-free, they did this experiment even with hands-free driving, both hands on the wheel, people still make more mistakes because inattentional bias. The fact that you are paying so much attention to what's happening here, you're not paying attention to what's happening here. I just realized this is a great photo for explaining this idea. Anyway, space in the notes for the workbook notes. Now, I'm just going to double check whether or not I put this into the revision workbook, because I just want to clarify again, in the revision workbook, there are some studies that are different and there are some new studies simply because of how they clarified later how these extensions are going to be asked and the questions that they're given. So I did not include this in the revision textbook. So if kids like it, great, but I think there are sorry, that's right. What I did in the revision textbook was I just said everything that focuses on working memory specifically. So while this links to working memory, I got more direct links with working memory for the revision textbook because they may ask one cognitive process. So just to make that easier, this is a clarification that happened later. Anyway, that's the guiding question for today, all about cell phones and intentional blindness. Again, similar to the Facebook lesson, I just wanted to put this in the book because it's really important and really relevant and a lesson that even if kids don't use it for the exam, they're going to need it for life. Exit ticket, they have a look at what they do here with how many of these words do they know, and then they can use the flashcards at home to review. All right, that's the end of the topic, and in the next one we get into everyone's favorite, research methods.